Starting a new job is an exciting time. You have an opportunity to meet new people, get involved in new projects. Now, one of the things often that you're not thinking about when you start a new job is the paperwork that you have to fill out when you start. For the most part, that's totally benign. You might have a tax form, something to sign up for health insurance. But one thing in labor and employment law that we're seeing across the board more and more are agreements called non-competition agreements. And that's just like what it sounds. If the employer is requiring you to sign that agreement, it's a demand that when you leave that job, you're not going to be competing against the employer. And that can have a real big impact on your future when you go on to your next position. So if you ever are presented with one of those kind of agreements, what are the types of things you should be looking for? Number one, you should try to figure out what is the employer preventing you from doing. Is it just going to be working in the same exact type of role? Is it across the board? If you're working right now as an engineer, could it be preventing you from working as a janitor for a competitor? That's number one. Number two, what is the geographic area that the employer is preventing you from competing in? Are we just talking about the state, the county, 10-mile radius, or is it the entire country or the North American continent? Those are the sorts of things that both attorneys and courts will look at if they ever try to figure out whether to enforce this or not. Number three is how long is the employment supposed to run? So if it's talking about just a few months, if it's talking up to a year, that might be okay. But sometimes what happens is that it can go for 3 or 5 years. And that's a long period of time to be outside the area where you want to be working. So whenever you get these types of agreements, don't just sign it. It's very important to actually read it over, to think about whether this is the sort of thing which you can accept if the relationship with the employer goes bad. Doesn't matter if you leave voluntarily or if you're fired, the employer may still be able to enforce it. Whenever you have these types of situations or these types of agreements, if you feel uncomfortable about it, you shouldn't sign before you've had a chance to talk it over with an attorney. And that's an area where we can help you.